and we will start the Board of Adjustments meeting. First order of business is consider the minutes of the October 2nd meeting.
I'd make a motion, may be accepted as written.
Have a motion to accept. You have a second?
Second.
You have a second? Any discussion? Any changes? So you know, we take roll.
Board Member Wool.
Yes.
Board Member Jansen.
Yes.
Board Member Wangler.
Yes.
Vice Chair Seifert.
Yes.
Chair Clark.
Next, I don't know, this is a new item for, if there's any public comment from the previous Board of Adjustments meeting from anybody. I don't see anybody, so we will move on. The next order of business is a variance for the Sattler 7th edition. And I'll have Daniel present.
Good evening, Vice Chair Seifert, Board of Adjustment. So my name is Daniel, and I'm in the Planning Department. I'm filling in for Jenny Holmuth today to present this variance to you. So Jeremy and Amber Hasenjager are requesting an approval of a variance from the City Code of Ordinances relating to the location of residential accessory buildings. In particular, the request will be to reduce the setback along the north side of the property from 25 feet to 15 feet for an existing accessory building. So this location is in the northeast corner of Bismarck, north of East Century Avenue, east of Centennial Road. It's in the southeast quadrant of the intersection of Roosevelt Drive and 43rd Avenue Northeast. The address is 4225 Roosevelt Drive. So this accessory building was recently constructed on this property. The owner and the contractor did not get a building permit for this. They did reach out to the Building Inspections Department in March of 2025, and they were informed about the corner lot setbacks and that it would be a 25-foot setback from both the west side and the north side of the lot from both Roosevelt Drive and from 43rd Avenue Northeast. So there was an email, and that is in your packet for your review from Mark Kern from the Inspections Department to the contractor in that case. So then in July of 2025, another inspector in our department noticed a building being constructed in that neighborhood and inquired further and determined that the permit had not been issued for that building. So the contractor was notified and then a permit was submitted at that point, and a lot survey with that permit was reviewed. I'll put it up here for your review. It was included in your packet. Okay, just for your reference on the survey, the accessory building in question is on the northeast portion of the lot. And you can see it is within the 25-foot setback, built at 15.2 feet at its closest point to 43rd Avenue Northeast. So one relevant point of information for you, as you know, the city is in the process of updating the zoning for the community, and we call it the Land Development Code. The most recent draft of that code in Module 1, which pertains to the setbacks within these zoning districts, does show a change of the setback for the accessory buildings within this zoning district, and that would be changed from 25 to 10. Actually 10 for accessory buildings, 15 for principal buildings in this draft. Now, this is a draft. It has not been reviewed by the Planning Commission, has not been approved by the City Commission, but has been publicly released in the spring of 2025. There is the estimated timeline for the Land Development Code would be the spring of 2026 approval of this. So it is not the law of the land as of today, but it is a proposal being reviewed. The public has been notified of this request. 14 letters were mailed to the owners of nearby properties on November 25th of 2025. And to my knowledge, we haven't received any feedback or any inquiries from any of the neighbors regarding this request. So I'll just read kind of the standard findings that we do have for variances for your information and for that of the public and the applicant. So pursuant of section 14-0602 of the City Code of Ordinances, the Board of Adjustment may vary or adjust the strict application of any of the requirements of the zoning ordinance in case of any exceptionally irregular, narrow, shallow, or steep lot or other exceptional physical or topographical conditions by reason of which the strict application of the provisions of the zoning ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship that would deprive the owner of the reasonable use of their land or building involved, but in no other case. So no adjustment in the strict application of any provision of the zoning ordinance shall be granted by the Board of Adjustment unless it finds the following. And so there are 3 findings here. That there are special circumstances or conditions that apply to the land or buildings that do not apply generally to land or buildings within the neighborhood and have not resulted from an act of the applicant. And secondly, that the strict application of the provisions of the zoning ordinance would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of said land or building. The granting of the variance is necessary for the reasonable use of the land or building, and that the variance as granted by the board is the minimum variance that will accomplish the relief sought by the applicant. And third, that the grant of the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance and will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. So in response to these findings, the applicant has submitted a written statement that identifies an anticipated hardship and an explanation for why they believe the variance should be granted. So that is in your packet, and they can always speak to that today in this hearing as well. So the recommendation that we would have, if you choose to approve the variance as proposed, we ask that you identify a hardship and modify the review standards or findings outlined in your staff report to support this decision. So the applicant is here, as I mentioned, and I can try to answer any questions you may have too.
Anybody have questions for Daniel? Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks.
Next, we will open up the hearing if the applicant is here in which to speak. If you could state your name and write down.
Good evening. I'm Todd Freetag, owner of Sparling Construction. And important that I'm here today because, first of all, I put this all on me and nobody else. It's not the city. It's not my client. A mistake was made. I'm not trying to be incongruent or incompliant. We're a 48-year-old company. Last time I was here is probably 10 years ago to help somebody where we didn't get into this situation. As far as I'm aware of, Sparling's never been in this situation before. So if I may, I'd like to explain how we got here, and I also want to apologize to you all that I'm basically wasting your time. That should never happen. So I'm trying to take ownership to it. Those emails that were sent was with one of my coworkers and Eric, my chief estimator, which I commend that he did his part. I did not see those emails. I was not aware of those emails. Nothing internally was discussed. So when I did my pre-construction meeting, I'd like to introduce something. And I'm not trying to prove anything that I'm right or anything's wrong, but this is my little world of what I deal with. And I spoke to Jenny on this about a week or two ago, and the address is here, a proposed client, and it's a corner lot, and they're looking at tearing down the detached garage and attach it to the home. And Jenny's like, as long as you're 6 feet away from that side property line, we're good, and stay 20 feet back away from the inside sidewalk. Can I approach?
Yes.
So my prospective client on this particular one wants to tear down that detached, and so I called the city, which I try to do when I have a question mark, and just want to make certain percent of lot setbacks. And she said, yes, you can attach it, just got to stay 6 feet away from that side property line. When I looked at Hasenjäger's and their property, I did know that there was no off of 43rd road approach that'd be going into that property, which is some of the verbiage in the paperwork that the city has. I truly, in good faith, not that may change anything, thought that at 15 feet being away from the fence and having harmony which I'd also like to introduce, if I may, Exhibit A through C. Google doesn't show the fence on this one, which currently there is a fence. So that shows 43rd on the bottom of your page there, and Roosevelt adjacent to it. So that's Exhibit A. If you move on to Exhibit B, we just took a picture of that today. One of the reasons why, too, that we discussed early on in January, February, I think probably end of February of this year, in design, is that on the north side of that living room and kitchen is an AC unit, but also an egress window that you can't see because of the snow. If the shop were to have to move 10 feet to the south, this garage really creates a hardship that he would not be able to bring his vehicles in and out of there to work on them, which he does as some supplemental income to work on. That's why we did the detach, because the garage just wasn't working for him. It impedes upon, of course, his backyard living, too, to have to go 10 feet to the south, where he currently has a very nice deck patio area, but more importantly, trying to get in vehicles and out of vehicles. We did stay away 10 feet from structure to structure. We made certain of that. But I assumed and was not informed, which is not anybody's problem but mine. I made it clear to the Hasenjägers that if we, for whatever reason, had to move this, thousands of dollars on us, not on them, that we'd have to move the structure. We did stop construction as soon as we found out, and did get a survey. It's actually very embarrassing for Sparling Construction, because we built this within less than 2 weeks, had it up and going with the concrete, and then it came to a screeching halt with the job sign sitting out in front. So if it does wait until even March, this structure will have sat there for basically almost a year. Not what I wanted to intend to have ever happen. My hope is that I never have to be in front of you guys again, because that's not how we roll. But basically, I do think that we're meeting some of the criteria, though, with Harmony. Good news that we didn't hear feedback negatively from any of the neighbors, which that's a great sign. So, Jeremy, if there's anything that I guess you're wanting to add, I think I pretty much, I'll confirm my notes here. Good news is if we're proposing, and if it doesn't pass in March or go further, but if it did, we're within that 15. But I don't think that's going to cause any kind of issue with the neighborhood. When they drive by, they won't even think about, wow, how did that ever pass? It does have harmony to it still. So is there anything, Jeremy, that...
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Jeremy Hasenjäger. I'm the homeowner.
Okay.
My wife wasn't able to make it tonight. She had to work. But kind of what Todd was explaining, none of this was really kind of how we expected it to go by any means. And I appreciate Todd and his support to back me being here tonight. And part of kind of what Todd is talking about, there is actually 2 egress windows on that north side of the home that access a bedroom and a downstairs living room, which was kind of where we, in my hopes and dreams, I would have loved to have put it just north of the house, kind of like Todd and I had talked and lined everything up, and it would have kind of fit what I was looking for. But we slid it back because we knew we had offsets and things like that we were working around. Moving it another 10 feet, I'm sure as many of you probably have a wife at home, and she wanted me to make this very clear, is that you would be blocking her bird feeder. Not that you have to take that into consideration by any means, but that was her one point that she wanted me to make note of tonight. But yes, other than that, I mean, we are talking a little bit about just being able to access it and ease. That 10 feet makes a pretty big difference in that door. to the actual garage itself, basically kind of cuts it right in half and then tucks it behind the house just enough that it makes it really difficult to even, I mean, other than a small vehicle, to access it. So I really don't have anything other than that, gentlemen, but I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for the applicant or for Todd?
I do have one question.
Go ahead.
If they had to move it south that 10 feet, would they have to also move it back? Where does it have to sit in relation to the residential structure as an accessory building?
So if I'm understanding you correctly, if the detached accessory structure is within 10 feet of the principal building, our zoning would say it had to stay the same setback as required for that principal building, so it'd be, today still 25 feet. In the future, likely 15 feet.
Okay,
But you're asking about the building itself.
Right, they have a dimension in there of 10 feet between the accessory structure and the house. If they moved it south, would they have to also move it east?
They wouldn't have to. No, I believe it meets the rear yard setback as it stands today.
Right,
of
but is
20
there a
feet.
distance that that the accessory structure has to be from the residential structure?
Basically
Yeah, it has
from
to be.
this corner of that house.
10
So,
feet.
No,
it has to be 10 feet, but
Yes.
so if they move the accessory structure south,
We should be.
it's probably gonna have to go east.
It doesn't have to be 10 feet. It's
Okay,
just
okay.
if it is 10 feet.
Right,
If it's
yeah.
not 10 feet, then it has to maintain the same setbacks as the principal structure. That's how our current ordinance reads.
Right. But-
There's
but-
building code requirements regarding separation between buildings, but if they wanted to, let's say, do an attached garage, they could do that as well.
Yep. And that wouldn't take a variance at all because they could attach to the house and
Yep.
then get within 6 feet of the side yard.
Not this side yard, because this is on a corner.
Oh,
So they would
okay,
still
yeah,
have the
yeah.
front yard
Okay,
setback
still
that
got
we're
that.
talking about today.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Yeah, just a couple of questions, Todd. I appreciate you saying, what took place. I did construction my whole career. We had to move a building that was 3 inches off, two-story building, surveyed one. So I've been there. I'm a little puzzled how, I understand the communication, but, the 25 feet, pretty standard here. I know you've dealt with corner lots before and so forth. I understand how communication happens in an office or doesn't happen and stuff. I looked at this, and I think our rear setback on this accessory building, it can go to the east further, if I'm not mistaken, correct? We're at 19 feet right now, roughly.
Right, if the building is greater than 10 feet away from the principal structure.
Yep.
Then it doesn't need to meet the rear yard setback. Only if it's closer than 10 feet, then it needs to
Okay.
meet the 20-foot
Okay.
setback. So yes, it does have some room that it can go. I believe the setback at that would be essentially the utility easement.
Right.
Would be the determining factor
Yep.
of what that rear yard setback would be.
So we can go back quite a ways. I understand the axis around there. I've seen several buildings where the garage is shifted, and yours would be lined up about the same. They don't have egress windows, they have steps, concrete steps sticking out on the north side in this case. So they had no choice, and they, two-car garage, and drove in and so forth. They didn't, if they had 10 feet, it'd be really close. It was done many, many decades ago, but tighter constraints here. What I'm struggling with is I look at where the hardship is. Because we typically deal with a lot of different lots that are just crazy. We got a lot of things, and this one is pretty clean cut in that fashion. So from my perspective, I'm struggling with a hardship. It doesn't matter to me whether the building's up or not. And it's also, if we're looking at the future, maybe changing this is kind of like the interstate. How long did it take the legislation to change it to 80 miles an hour? You know, it might happen, might not. The state trooper's still gonna give me a ticket at 80 because I'm going, it's not 75, type thing. So I'm struggling with that. I understand it. I would agree with you that as far as harmony with the rest of it out there, that's not an issue. But that's my challenge, is just, we have others we had in this area just a little ways away from there that were not in compliance with setbacks on a house, on 2 houses actually, and they had to change them. And they could modify them and so forth and meet the setbacks and so forth. So, but I do appreciate what you said about how it happened and went through. I understand it. I can see how it happens and so forth. It just gets through the cracks once in a while, and
Right.
it's not atypical of what you do.
No,
So, which I'm thankful for, But, okay.
Anybody else? Any questions? Staff, any other comments or anything? No? Thank you, guys.
yep.
Thank you. I see nobody else in here, so I don't think we have to open up a public hearing unless someone's on Zoom or anything. No? So we will close the public hearing. And what are the wishes of the board? I know it's going to be a tough decision, but
A question for staff.
go ahead.
So, I know you have the proposal out of the draft, the change of setbacks. So, before us, we have to determine yes or no, based on what the ordinances are now. Now, would they have the ability, I'm just asking, to not do anything more on it and wait and see if that ordinance changed, got approved, and then continue construction? Or would they have to do something right now if it wasn't, in compliance?
So, thank you for the question, and when we actually proposed this to the property owner already, is there are a couple different options we could do here. This is certainly a fast track to getting their project done, if they came here and got an approval through the variance process, but certainly, we don't want to make them move this building if in the very, if we're gonna be proposing a change, and then it would be essentially righting this wrong. Not for this purpose, but this is a plan that we had in place prior to this particular issue coming to our attention. So, yeah, leaving it as is, keeping it under construction, if you will, and waiting to see what happens with our zoning ordinance proposal is certainly an option. But if it isn't changed, if we go through the process and it doesn't get resolved through that process, then we'll certainly have to take enforcement action and have them relocate the building.
So would there be a time limit on something like that that's not part of our decision, but would there be a time limit on your end?
At the moment, we don't have a time frame, like a definitive date of when we're taking this to our commissions to get approvals. So I said I'd be, I wouldn't want to set a time frame today, but certainly be working with the property owners as we move forward with that land development code and going through that public hearing process to get that adopted.
Well, I'm just thinking, let's just say it comes up for adoption and it gets turned down. Then we're not going to prolong this longer, or that's what I'm kind of getting at, because are we talking, if it's going to come up within so many months and so forth, and it gets declined
Yeah.
and so forth, and it's not going to happen, then where do you go from there?
I guess it would be us working with the property owner to try to come up with a reasonable, timeframe. I mean, they're well aware of the work that staff is doing to get to the, land development code update.
Yep.
And, I mean, we would just work with them on that.
I'll make the motion to not approve the variance based on the ordinances we have in place right now and not having anything to base it on to accepting. So,
Okay. We have a motion to deny. Is there a second?
I'll second, mainly for the sake of discussion.
Okay. Discussion.
I'm honestly pretty annoyed by the fact that the question was asked and we still end up with a building built in a setback. But would anybody agree that this lot does have a unique situation, which is the unusually large setback from the major street next to it,
I agree.
which, maybe doesn't change anything in regards to, if this was a regular in-city street corner, you wouldn't be able to do this either, but it makes it less of a problem, I think, for the neighbors with such a large setback or a large distance to the street. Doesn't really look out of place or anything like that. So my thought is, we could probably use that as our peculiar situation with the land.
Yeah, and I don't think I really think that, like you say, the location of it, I don't think no one's really gonna even notice it there, the neighbors and at its location, and that's a unique corner, so. And, there was mistakes made. The building's there, so even if it'd be a bad thing if the variance or the ordinance was not changed. Then the city would still have to work with them, and I
That's
can't
what-
imagine they're gonna come tear that down.
That's how I'm looking at it, is
It'd be tough to do,
regardless of what might happen with the ordinance,
right?
I think I could get there on this, even without that looming on the horizon potentially.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I lived on a corner lot for 42 years, and I had 25 feet on the east side of my house that I wish somebody would have taken over ownership for it. I mowed it, I watered it, I shoveled the snow, I paid the taxes on it, I replaced the sidewalk, never used it. Never used it because it wasn't my front door. My front door was on the north side of the house, the east side of my house. I'd have given it to anybody who wanted to own it.
You had 2 front yards.
I had 2 front yards, and I had a big yard, and that was a total waste of space. It was 80 feet long and 25 feet wide. Anybody could have had it for free. I'd have paid them to take it because I had to replace the sidewalk, shovel it, mow it, weed it,
Pay the specials.
water it. I think the hardship that a person could come to here is the fact that if you shift this accessory building 10 more feet south, you're depriving them of full use of the lot they have.
Okay,
That is, to me,
yeah.
it doesn't make a bit of difference if that building is 15 feet from the property line or 25. As far as 99.9% of the people in the city of Bismarck would ever even recognize.
It
With
doesn't,
that
it
amount
doesn't
of-
have the appearance of a corner lot, even though it is.
No, I agree.
That's kind of where I'm.
Because that ditch is gonna be huge,
Okay.
Well, and I look at it that's, there's plenty of room on the lot. You can shift it more to the east. I'm surprised it wasn't, instead of staying to the minimum distance you have at 10 feet. We have numerous locations where houses and garages are like this, shifted back. I understand the egress windows and so forth, but anybody who builds and knows property, corner lots always have those setbacks. And that's a pretty main road that's coming there on 43rd. It's not your average city block, in a residential area. So I understand, I look at it, I don't even consider there a building being there. If this plan had been put together and submitted right,
Right.
that's, and if the proposed ordinance goes through, it's a moot point, it stays where it's at and so forth. And it's just some time there. But we've had other spots that the lots are much tighter, have way more restrictions than this one. And I'm just trying to stay consistent with what we've done and how we've handled these in the past. And we understand, mistakes are made, we understand.
Right, and I don't think it was an intentional
No,
mistake
no.
at this point.
No,
Anything else? So the motion is to deny, and we can take roll?
Board Member Wengler. Board Members Jansen.
He's gonna say,
I'm still thinking.
Okay.
No.
Board Member Jansen.
yes.
Board Member Wool.
No.
Vice Chair Seifert.
no. Motion does not pass. We need another motion? Al, you had some pretty good ideas before.
Can I use my personal experience? Having 25 feet of non-usable yard. I would make a motion that we approve the variance. Special circumstances are, in my opinion, it deprives use of the property. I agree 100% that it shouldn't have happened. I hope they change that. But my reason for that is it's taken away some of his property that he has to pay for. It ends up creating, in my opinion, unusable space on the north side of that property. And I think the 15 feet setback is probably the minimum, that the board can use to accomplish relief sought by the applicant. I don't believe that this is going to be non-harmonious with the general purpose and intent of the article. And for that reason, I'd say we grant the variance.
And wouldn't be indigenous to the,
Pardon me?
wouldn't be indigenous to the neighborhood either.
No, I don't see how that can
Understand.
happen, no.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, call roll.
We need a second.
No, second, I'm sorry, you're right, we need a second.
I'll second that.
Getting confused here, jumped ahead, jumped ahead. We have a second, any discussion now? Seeing none, we'll take roll.
Board Member Jansen.
No,
Board Member Wengler.
Yes.
Board Member Wool.
Yes.
And Vice Chair Seifert.
Yes. The variance passes. The city will work with you. Yeah. I understand mistakes were made, and good luck. Okay. Merry Christmas. Okay. And next thing is any other business? Anybody have any other business? Staff?
Yeah, if I may, Vice Chair Seifert. So
Yes.
just so you are aware, this is the season when there are new board appointments
Yes.
for all of the boards. The application deadline for that was November 30th. However, I just heard today that the city administration has reopened the window, so we are still accepting applications, including for this board. So I think there is still a need for one more seat. So obviously, you're already on it. However, if there's somebody listening from the public who really enjoyed watching this meeting and would like to be a part of it, that there is an application process open right now for the Board of Adjustment.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. There's no other business from anybody. We will adjourn.